Parenting is a tough job. It is 24/7, 365, and it never ends. My kids are 19, 22, and 25 at the making of this video, and I'm still parenting, I'm still momming, and I still worry about them, and I still am invested in their lives. So it doesn't end when they turn 18. The relationship changes a little, as your kids get older, but it's more than just making sure that they are taken care of and have their basic needs met, feeding them and having a roof over their heads. And in those moments, if there is a time where that's the struggle, it's very hard to focus on anything higher up. I mean, that's just the hierarchy of needs. But what I want to share is that, I had so many amazing thoughts as I was getting out of the shower and things, but I couldn't share it then because I was just getting out of the shower. And I didn't have anything to write it down on. So whatever flows out right now is going to be what is actually needed to be heard. So, our kids don't just listen to the things that we say and the things that we do. We're our kids' first introduction into the world, just as our parents were our first introduction into the world, and they learn so much about themselves, what they should think about themselves from us, just as we did from our parents. And a lot of that begins to feel like reality. And that, my friends, is the hugest responsibility. So please, moms and dads, remember that even though it may not appear like it, our kids, they hear everything we say. Whether they listen to it, they hear everything we say. They see everything we do. They see how we talk to ourselves, about ourselves, and treat ourselves. They see how we talk about others and see each others and treat others. They see the boundaries that we create for ourselves or we don't. They see everything. They are sponging it all in. And it all is telling them how they need to navigate throughout the world as well, because we are their first guides in this world. And that is some heavy shit, because let me tell you, I didn't start hitting personal development until 2013, and my kids were already well along their way in their growth. Thankfully, I'm very blessed. I'm so blessed to have 3 amazing children. Things were rough when they were younger. I was very strict when they were younger. That was how I was raised. And I thought that was how it was supposed to be. Like I grew up with, if we were in the store and where you have that kid halfway across the store, all the way across the store that you can literally hear screaming their head off. As a child, I would hear my mom say, somebody needs to smack that child or whatever, get that kid out of here, but basically it was and this isn't the debate about that stuff, about raising children, but I learned that was the way to raise kids. The problem with that was that I grew up not really feeling like I could have my own voice. Now, does that mean that a child should just scream their head off in the store so they can have their own voice? No. But it is our job as parents to teach this young human how to self-regulate in the world. The problem is most of us as adults have not learned how to self-regulate. And in turn, we're showing our kids, we're treating our kids. They see how we treat them and how we talk to them. And this all has an impact on them. I grew up thinking that I had to keep my mouth shut. To be polite and to not stir the pot. I'm not saying that you should just go be a pot stirrer. What I'm saying is I learned to not speak up for myself. The only time I would speak up for myself is if my back was completely against the wall and my long ass fuse had finally burnt up to the bomb. And that's when the stuff came out. And I still, at least down deep in my core, I've never believed in saying things that I don't mean and I don't truly think. It was just that I kept all that stuff to myself until the bomb blew. And then I just would let it all out. Not a great way to live. And I, now 2023, I'm going against all of that back training from 4 decades. And to have been able to have come across these concepts of boundaries and hearing to listen and not to respond, and how to have good open communication that's healthy, being able to respect other opinions and perspectives without jumping all over the place and getting triggered, learning to control my triggers, and not project my issues onto others. To have had these skills when I was younger would have been amazing. But let's be honest, we are just finally entering into an era where discussing mental health is beginning to be more normal. And you still will hear people that will gripe about snowflakes and stuff. And yes, I will too joke about snowflakes. But like, it's not with the same hate, or that's not the right word. It's not hate, but it's rigidity. People that are not open to new ideas become very rigid and stiff. Have you ever come across an old rubber band, and if you go to try to stretch it or flip it or whatever, or use it, it just snaps because it can't handle the flexibility anymore, because it's gotten so worn and stuck and rigid in its current condition that it's there was a word for this that I learned in college, but it lost it. It lost its ability to be stretchable. And our brains are the same way. And we have so many kids growing up in this world with parents that can't regulate. And then how in turn are they supposed to regulate? It's this downward spiral of generational dysfunction. We grow up and we say, well, I turned out just fine. But did we? Do we find ourselves constantly focusing on the negative? Do we find ourselves constantly feeling less than? Do we find ourselves feeling like we can never really celebrate the wins that we get because it's off to the next thing? I could go on and on because I'm speaking from personal experience here with myself. And so I would have to say we can do better. When I say I want to do better for my kids, it used to mean like I would love for them to be able to have a whole bunch of new clothes for the beginning of the school year, to be able to go into the cupboards and find all the foods, to not have to worry about money. And yes, that is important, but none of that shit matters if when you look in the mirror, you're not happy with what you see. You don't see what you see as a gift. That reflection is something that you veer away from, and you constantly compare to all of the other things you see out there in the world. It is so much of a passion of mine for people to see that we were born to be so much more in this world than to just survive and get by. We were here to have experiences, to have joy, to have a better life. And that doesn't mean everybody needs to go out and just make this huge impact on the world. Just by being your own shining self, you make the world a better place. And so many of us dim that shine, or we don't even see it, so we keep the bulb turned down way low, or we push the off button. And it hurts me to even think about that being a thing. I have gone over my time for TikTok. I gotta go.